our first dyno run is done, and what we can see here in our HPtuners data logging program, it's called the VCM scanner, is that this list here from channels or from data which we can pull out of the OBD port is very, very rare. Normally with modern cars, this list is full of data, and the Viper has a very simple PCM, and it has only the most important values available, and it's a 20-year-old car, so this was just the beginning when they started to become more complex. And we did add an external sensor for the mixture, an O2 sensor, and this wideband O2 sensor gives this signal. The HPtuners device is able to be connected with external sensors, and this signal is being implemented right now in our VCM scanner, so we can at least see how the car is burning. And what we can see is that at full RPM, it's not revving higher than 6,000, we are under an AFR of 11. And AFR is the air-fuel ratio, and air-fuel ratio means how many parts of air are you burning with one part of fuel. Normally when you are driving constant and when you're driving slow, you have 14.7 parts of air which are burned with one part of fuel, and this is good for the environment, and it burns as clean as it can. But under full throttle we need a little bit more fuel. And when we need more fuel, it means we have less air. So under full throttle, we are not burning at 14.7, we are burning between 11 and 12, something like that, and even a little bit higher than 12, but it's more rich, and a more rich mixture can burn faster. We have a faster explosion because the explosion eats away all the hydrogen atoms around the carbon atoms, and when those hydrogen is burning, then the wave is faster. So we have a little bit dust coming out of the exhaust, which is the non-burned carbon, and this here under 11, it's 10.9, shows us that it's much too rich. And the manufacturer of that car did that because they want the car to be safe. They are over-enriching such an engine to prevent it from damage. Because a lot of fuel is cooling the engine from inside, and also when you take into consideration that such a car becomes old, and it is 20 years old right now, all the injectors, they mature, and they may have less fuel flow over the years. So when they did program the car in the factory, when they built it, they implemented a certain more extra volume of fuel, so that even with a 20, 30-year-old car, it cannot be too lean under full throttle. Unfortunately, we don't have any knock sensors, so we don't know if it's knocking. I would like to add more spark, so we are burning earlier and we have more time to press all that power on our piston. But without knock sensors, I would like to be conservative and add only 2 or 3 degrees of spark under full throttle, and only under full throttle. This is our program which we are using which we did use to read out everything from the PCM, and these are the changes that I've done. This is the original spark table, and this is my modified spark table, and this is the comparison of both. As you can see here under full throttle, which is there where the throttle is full open, so we have atmosphere pressure behind the throttle body, I did add 3 degrees of ignition, and I'm blending it over into 0 changes in the normal ranges where we don't have full throttle, because we don't want to experiment and make the car more effective today. We would like to see what can we do to tune such a natural aspirated car. So we are adding 3 degrees of ignition, and we took away some of the over-enriching things. this is a fuel-air adder. It's not air-fuel ratio, it's the opposite of it. It's fuel-air, so we have to divide it by 1 to see what it means. And this is adding too much fuel. And I changed that above 4,000 RPM to 1.25, which results in a mixture of 11.8. Normally, with a natural SP rated car, we can go over 12, but I would like to prevent that car from damage, so we discussed to use an AFR of 11.8, and we are now programming that car with these changes and do a second dyno run and see what's the difference. And the first dyno run here resulted in 490 horsepower and 633 Newton meters. The car has above 3,000 RPM. It has around 600 Newton meters of torque, and it's holding that torque very good. And the red curve here shows our power. This is the power at the clutch. This is the power at the wheels. And the green line is what we are losing in the transmission, in the differential, at the tires, and also on the dyno. And when we're adding the things that we are losing to that what we did measure on the tires, then the result is the power at the engine or at the clutch. And this is ending at 490 horsepower, which is for a 19-year-old car a very good value. It's I think it comes from the factory with 506 or something horsepower, so we are only 15, 16 horsepower below that normal new engine horsepower from the factory. But now let's program it and see what our second run says. So guys, have a look. That's our modified dyno run right now. And especially in our torque curve, you can see what our changes did result in. So we have 5 to 10% more torque all over the range. And at the top end, this difference between the modified and the stock calibration becomes less, because we are running hot. We are running about 40, 50 degrees Celsius intake air temperature, and the PCM is cutting the ignition the hotter the intake air temperatures become. So on the street we will have this big difference also in the upper RPM ranges, and we will have more horsepower gains than we can momentarily show you on the dyno. We had 490 horsepower stock, and now we have 508. Sounds not that much more, but please remember it's a natural SP rated car. It aspirates the amount of air that the displacement of the engine offers under full throttle. We cannot increase that, but we did optimize that, and the optimization results in a very good Newton meter or torque gains all over the RPM range. And if you are on the Autobahn and if you have nice cold air, then you have, let's say, about 520, 530 horsepower at the top end too. And let's have a look at our VCM scanner and at our log results. There you can definitely see. And what's also interesting is that after programming that car with HPtuners, we have more data that we can see right now than before. Now we see that this car has knock sensors and that it's not knocking, of course. We see now the injector milliseconds, which we did not see before. This is the comparison between how it was before and how it's right now. And what we also can see is that the mixture is running too rich at the top end, and now the mixture stays at a nicely rich level, but it's not over rich. Here we are at maximum RPM, 6,000 RPM. We now have 33.5 degree of spark angle. we have 11.6 AFR. This is measured with our wideband external O2 sensor, and we see that our injectors are already not totally maxed out, but they cannot support much more horsepower with that fuel pressure level that we are running right now than we have. Because at 6,000 RPM we have around 20 milliseconds time to inject the amount of fuel that we need for that power and for that amount of air, and we are at 17.5 milliseconds already. So if we would apply some boost at that car with a supercharger or anything else, then bigger injectors and a bigger fuel pump are a must-have. But it's natural aspirated and we want to leave it as it is for the moment. So yeah, these are good results and I hope you understood what we've done here. If you have questions, write us some comments and we will answer these questions, and I hope you enjoyed that video too. It was something else, something different compared to the videos that we normally do with our supercharged and yeah, other Dodges and Mustangs and things. I hope you liked that video. Give us a like, subscribe our channel, and special thanks to HPtuners. Thank you. See you next time.